Go Chundria, Chundria, it's Chundria Show.
Get to know Alexander Riesenkampff, CEO of Get Vokl, and Stacii Jae Johnson, a dating, love, and relationship coach.
Alexander, so as Chief Executive Officer of Get Vokl, tell me more about the solutions that your company brings to the marketplace.
Yeah, I would love to, and thank you for the opportunity, Chundria. Get Vokl is interactive podcasting, and we're really the first ones to define what interactive podcasting means. It doesn't really exist yet, so we're kind of excited about that. And it's really three things. It lets podcasters engage with their fan base and their audience, number one. Two, it lets them grow their audience. And three, and this is something that we think is very important, it lets them monetize their audience as well. So we've built all kinds of solutions to help a direct monetization. And yeah, that's essentially what we bring to the table. You could imagine it as interactive live video shows specifically for podcasters and their communities. So imagine combining Zoom with Facebook Live and creating this amazing social experience around that. That's Get Vokl.
Are there any distinct features that, while you're podcasting, are you able to interact with your audience? Are they able to message you kind of like Facebook Live? Is it similar to that?
So you have the whole chat room that's going on. And then in addition to that, you can allow your audience to come onto the virtual stage with you. So it makes it even more interactive than something like Facebook Live. So it's really, it's almost like a call-in talk show that we have built specifically for podcasters. And so there's also the whole community aspect where you can, become friends with other people that are the fans of the creator that you love.
I was just chatting here with Alex about his platform and getting to know his why. Watching it.
I love it.
Alex, I would love for you to introduce Stacii and Stacii's show and how you two began working together before I dive into Stacii's platform or Stacii show. How did you two start working together?
Perfect. So as I mentioned, Get Vokl is all about interactive shows, and those interactive shows work because you have amazing talent such as Stacii that come up with amazing concepts. And so that's how we met. We approached Stacii and said, this is what we've built. Do you have some ideas for creating an amazing show around that? And Stacii sure did. And so we started working together, and especially we're excited about the Meet Your Match show that Stacii launched. And I think probably, Stacii, you're better at talking about that than I am.
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you, and congratulations on all the success of your show. It's interesting when Get Vokl approached me about doing a show, I was like, who are these people? But then now they're like my family. I love Get Vokl. I love everything that the platform stands for, empowering creators like myself to be creative. And honestly, what's wonderful about Get Vokl, it allows you to simulcast on all these different platforms at one time, so you're not reaching out to everybody separately, as well as they have this little Vcoin aspect where basically the creator, more than a YouTube or any of the other places out there, is really, you really can see the amount of money you can make, because we're creators, yes, but we have to make a living. And what I like about the Vcoin aspect of Get Vokl, what was really attractive is it allows me, a creator, to actually see how the dollars come in. And we're more in a partnership more than YouTube is a partnership. And I have some creator friends on YouTube that I don't know how they even know when they make their first dollar. They just kind of, 500,000 views, and then, oh wow, you got $500. Well, wow, 500,000 views and $500. That doesn't happen at Get Vokl. So it's not a balance with the other platforms. So when I was approached by Get Vokl, I was like, absolutely, let's get it popping. And I'd had this idea called Love Rants. And what I realized was, I didn't know I was ready to do it as quickly, but I was, when the opportunity, what is that saying? When opportunity meets preparation. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'm ready. And the platform Love Rants is basically, I interview celebrities and influencers, and they come on the show and they talk about their love story and their 3 love lessons and how those lessons have influenced how they love today. And we've had people like Jamal Bryant, Pastor Jamal Bryant, Mimi Fowles, Young Jock, the star of All-American, Kareem Grimes. Who else have we had? Brayley Evans, Tawanda Braxton, a host of celebrities. And then in the midst of doing that, the pandemic happened. And I was like, what in the world? Everything was going so good. How am I gonna bring people together, when everybody is so concerned about the wherewithal of our lives? I said, but they still have to love. They still have to date. What is my part? What is going to be my part in this as a creator and a dating, love, and relationship expert and matchmaker? And I said, you know what? I'm going to go to Get Vokl and ask them, not only will I do Love Rants, but maybe 2 weeks out of the month, we'll do Meet Your Match, which Alex and his team said, yeah, let's do it. And it was so exciting because, first of all, it was 6 hours of dating. 6 hours straight. Literally, I feel like I de-niced the love industry. It was 6 hours of nothing but singles meeting from all over the world, and it was 80 dates. Imagine, during a pandemic.
So how is it set? Is it like everybody on one call, on one video chat, or is it scheduled?
Well, Alex can explain the platform.
How does that work, Alex? When you first did that, how did it work? How did you attract so many people at one time?
So the format is the virtual equivalent of a stage with an auditorium, if you will, right? And the stage has 4 seats on it. And the special thing is that everyone in the auditorium can chat with each other and also with the folks on the stage, but also every seat in that auditorium has a little button that beams you onto the stage, right? So that's essentially what we've built with Get Vokl, what the format feels like. So for Meet Your Match, we have hundreds of folks in the auditorium and thousands more watching on the social platforms to which the show gets streamed. And then, 10,000s of people that watch this whole thing on demand after the fact. And then whilst it's going live, you have Stacii and one of her celebrity co-hosts, and they ask a single and then whatever match that single gets matched up with to come onto the stage. And everyone else is on the sideline kind of talking, interacting, giving their feedback on what's going on live. And, I was surprised by how good that worked and how intimate it still feels, because you could imagine, we're dating or folks are dating and they're being watched. That feels awkward, but not at all. So that was an experiment that we ran, and I think it works really well. And Stacie's able to make these singles feel very comfortable. Stacii, what do you say? You say that you're kind of like their bigger sister that helps them figure the date out.
Oh yeah, they call me Auntie Stacii. I'm like, wait now, hold on, Auntie? Okay, yeah, I can be Auntie. Yes, they call me Auntie Stacii because for me, this thing is spiritual for me. Even as a coach, I'm not the coach that's saying, okay, look a certain way, act a certain way, talk a certain way, and then you will get a man or a woman. No, I'm saying, let's start on our inner work first. And that's what makes, when women do coach with me, that's what makes me a lot different, because everyone's needs are different, and I believe in coaching individuals rather than giving people these things to do to quote unquote, make them more attractive to the opposite sex. I believe what makes Meet Your Match so amazing for singles is that it's after they come on, I always, because I do a checkup call and I say, see, and they go, yeah, wow, it was so much fun. It wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. I think because I'm more of your sister girl, auntie, funny, engaging, and they know that I'm going to take care of them. Also, I think now, like I just recently had a doctor reach out to my DM and said, hey, I saw this amazing thing that you do on Get Vokl, Meet Your Match. How do I get involved? So I believe now what's happening is the word is spreading because I have really quality people, quality men and quality women from all walks of life who are all prepared for love. And I can tell you, in the world where the statistics are 75% of Black people are single, according to the newest US Census Bureau or whatever, when you hear those statistics and it's like, well, and now I'm stuck in the house, what am I supposed to do? Well, how can I meet people and really trust that I'm going to meet quality people? And I believe now, even more than before, we've always gotten quality people. I think that's why Essence featured us in their magazine. But now amongst the community of people, it's like, okay, all walks of life, doctors, lawyers, teachers, principals, you know, everyone is wanting to, other celebrities actually have approached me, wanted to be on influencers, want to be on Meet Your Match. Yeah.
Have there been any Get Vokl love rants success stories so far?
I can tell you, well, the Love Rants is a separate entity, but the Meet Your Match, yeah, there are definitely some people who are still dating. And I always say, you know, you want to date and have fun. And we did the first one around March, and it's what, August? So we haven't had any marriages or any weddings or anything, but I do stay in contact with people, and I know that everybody is still enjoying getting to know each other. And honestly, for me, that's exactly the only thing that should be going on in these situations.
That is awesome. I love the platform. I love what you all are doing and how you're working together. I mean, I'm excited to hear that. I mean, during the pandemic, if you are creative, you know, opportunities to make money can be limited. So I'm excited about what Get Vokl is doing to help creatives. And I'm excited to see a creative, you know, be able to thrive and flourish in your ideas, like to go from Love Rants to Meet Your Match. And you're helping people find love. I think it's absolutely amazing.
Get to know Vanessa Joy Walker, an amazing two-time cancer survivor, wife, and author of Make Room for Joy.
I'm so excited to feature Vanessa Joy Walker on the Chundria Show today. How are you, Vanessa?
I'm great. It's good to be here.
Thank you so much. Well, welcome to the show. I understand you're a professionally trained opera singer turned adversity expert, speaker, and professional coach. How long have you personally been diligently inspiring individuals?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say that I'm probably what my mother would call a professional encourager. I think I've been doing it since I was a young person. It comes naturally to me. But as a career and as something I've been doing more intentionally, probably for the last 5 to 7 years, traveling and speaking, and then doing a lot more one-on-one encouragement and supporting people in their journeys.
Tell me about yourself. Where are you from and where do you live today?
Yeah, so I am Canadian. I'm a Canadian American. So I was born in Canada, born and raised there, moved here when I was young, 18, a baby, heading off to college, and never came home. My mother said, you know, I know it, you're never gonna come back. You're gonna turn into a Yankee. And she, pardon?
Where
am I now?
Uh-huh.
I am a New Yorker. I've lived there for 20 years, but I'm actually in North Carolina right now.
Okay.
So my husband and I had to come here during everything with COVID. In our neighborhood in Brooklyn was getting really bad, and I have a compromised immune system. So we're going to be here in North Carolina for a little while.
Okay, so from Canada to New York.
Yeah, to North Carolina.
To North Carolina. Okay. That's awesome. Now, you've written an amazing book called Make Room for Joy, right?
Yeah, Make Room for Joy.
What's the inspiration for your book?
So people have been saying I should write a book for a really long time, and writing a book is really overwhelming. But last year, I really felt like it was time to tell my story more intentionally. I tell people God really woke me up in the middle of the night and said, it's time for you to do something more with your story. And I was terrified because I don't really consider myself a writer, although I love writing. But the idea of writing down my story with the hope of inspiring people seemed really overwhelming, because it is, right? Writing a book is overwhelming.
Well, you have to be so transparent, so I understand.
Yeah, definitely. But the inspiration really was birthed out of this idea of crisis and how we approach crisis in this world. I feel like growing up both in Canada and also the years I've spent here in the United States, there is this sense that we should be avoiding crisis at all times, right? It's like we're preparing to avoid the crisis as opposed to preparing for the crisis. And life is full of mishaps. Life is full of difficulty. Life is full of crisis. And what I realized when I went through my own crisis was that if I had been a little bit more prepared, if I had been more steeped in my faith, more steeped in who I was as a human being, I would have been able to tackle things differently and more perhaps efficiently and more joyfully than at times I did. And so my inspiration was I wanted to encourage others to find joy and find hope and find peace in the messiest moments of life. I don't want anyone to go through this life being hopeless.
Right. What's the full title of the book?
So it's Make Room for Joy. Choose hope and cultivate joy in the middle of life's most complicated season.
Now I want to know why you chose the title.
Yeah. You want to know why we chose the title? So I chose the title because joy is one of those things we talk a lot about in the world. A lot of people, say choose joy, find joy. And what I realized that I say a lot of is make room for things in your life. And the idea of joy is not something that you have to create on your own. Joy is not something that you have to create. I believe that it is already created, but we have to make room for it in our lives. And part of making room for it is getting familiar with it, but also getting familiar with the things that take up space in our lives that might prevent us from making room for joy.
So it's kind of like reworking everything that's going on in your life and eliminating as much of the things that don't bring you joy as possible.
Yeah, and not just eliminating them, but understanding them, right? Like, so fear and bitterness or resentment or anger, uncertainty, getting familiar with those things, getting familiar with our crisis, getting familiar with our suffering so that we can get familiar with our joy.
I love that because I know that, right now it's such a difficult time in the world, but even before, it's not that there were no difficulties prior to COVID,
right?
Impacting the world. So, it's a great thing to kind of sort and compartmentalize, just life in general and be able to just kind of weigh those outcomes and our response to it.
Definitely.
What are your hopes for your readers?
So my hope is that people will really ultimately see their own stories differently. it's one thing to read a book and understand the details and the circumstances of one person's journey, but my story is just one of many. And the specific things that I've gone through are different than the things that you've gone through. They're different than the things that my husband's gone through and my friends have gone through. But the thing that connects us are all of those things between the lines, like the pain, like the loss, grief, disappointment, fear. Those things can connect us. And so my hope is that as people read this book, they will begin to see their own crises differently. They will begin to see their own joy differently. So at the end of each chapter, I actually have a section that's called Make It Personal, because often in memoirs, it's just like all about the author, but I want this book to be about you, the reader. And so it's that make it personal. It's like, listen, whatever my journey is, great. Now I want you to think about your own journey. How are you going to choose hope, find joy, deal with grief in your own journey?
Oh, tell me about, like, so I hear you saying, like, I love it. What I love about it is that you're saying, like, I do tell my story, but unlike other books where it's just all about me, it's like you're stepping up first to be transparent. I'll share my story so that you can kind of analyze what you've been through. So
yeah,
tell me some of the hardest points in your own life and how you personally made room for joy.
Yeah, I really appreciate that question because, and I appreciate how you set it up, because I think the whole part about being transparent is so important. And really, this idea of joy and the importance of it came out of a time in my life that was horrible. I mean, I was going through a messy separation, divorce. I had cancer for the first time. I was in New York City alone, away from my family, going through chemotherapy. My career was like in the toilet, like I wasn't making any money as a singer, and I was desperately sad. I mean, and disappointed in myself and disappointed in life. And as I looked around, it felt like there was nothing to be happy about. Like there was just nothing to be happy about. And that's when I realized that to survive, I was going to have to find something else to fuel me, right? And so the idea of joy, and a joy for me, because I'm a person of faith that was really rooted in my faith, those ideas coming together really became a lifeline for me. It became what allowed me to thrive in the middle of the most difficult times, in the middle of the cancer and the divorce and the betrayal and the fear.
What brings you joy today?
Ooh, so many things. And it really depends on the day. Joy is organic and it is flexible and adaptable. That's one of the things one of the points I really want to get across to people is that joy is different every day. So sometimes joy is quiet. Sometimes joy is peaceful. And sometimes joy is loud and exuberant. The things that bring me the most joy, I would say, is when I am sharing with someone or connecting with someone, and there is that unspeakable thing that happens, right? You know, when you have that conversation and you realize, oh my gosh, like we were meant to talk, and there's this mutual encouragement and this mutual building up. It's that kind of unknown thing. Those moments really bring me joy.
Do you feel like you're aligned with the world? You're aligned with the people you're talking to? You feel like you're making a contribution and a difference in the world?
Definitely, because I really feel like joy is something that is not just for us, it's for everyone. Joy is contagious. And the more we share it, the more we have to share.
It's beautiful. Generally speaking, why do you think people underestimate the power of joy and their own ability to seek happiness? But you've been on both sides, you know, you
Yeah.
joy, but you've also been in a place where you couldn't find any joy. So now that
Definitely.
you're an expert, you're a joy expert. Why do you think people underestimate its power?
You know, I think people underestimate it because many people, including myself, at times conflate the idea of joy and happiness. And I think often we think they're the same thing. And I really like to make the distinction between the two. Happiness is something that happens to us. It's something that is that has an expiration date. Joy is something that is all around us, and we get the opportunity to step into it and nurture it and experience it. And so because happiness is something that happens to us and it's experiential, it's not always easy to experience when there's difficulties. So when people are thinking joy and happiness are the same thing, listen, if you just lost your job and there are people in your life who have COVID or are suffering in some other way, you're probably looking around saying, gosh, like, there's not that much to be happy about right now. And you're right, there isn't. But that doesn't mean that joy doesn't exist there, because there's all kinds of ways that we can experience joy. And so if joy is something that comes from within, then it is something that can be cultivated all the time. And so one of the things that I love to encourage people to do if they're having a difficulty finding joy is make room for gratitude first.
Make room for gratitude first. Why is that? Because
I have never met a truly joyful person that is not grateful. And so making room for gratitude it's a posture. And so we talk a lot about gratitude in the world right now. And there are a lot of gratitude journals and people have gratitude practices. But I like to think of gratitude as not something that we check off our list, but it's something that we step into and hold on to throughout our day. So if we're making space for gratitude in our life, that means that we're also pausing to actually observe what's going on, right? We're actually taking a moment to say, oh, wow, like, look at this beautiful book that I have that, I'm really grateful for this. And look at, this awesome cup that I have, and it keeps my drink cold for hours on end. Like, those seem like little things, but when we take a moment to pause, even in the middle of the most difficult times, there's always something that will give us, that we can be grateful for. And that is the first step toward making enough room so that we can actually see and experience the joy that is around us.